Hello and welcome back to my channel. So in today's blog post / video, we're going to be going through how to stop overeating and take back control. So the first thing I wanted to say is to mention or remind you of is if you want to get a hold of my 3-step guide to overcoming emotional eating and restrictive dieting, which also kind of encapsulates things like binge eating and overeating, you're welcome to get it. I'm going to link it below, and yeah, so make sure you grab that if you want it. So the first step to overcoming how to stop overeating, the first step is to go through why you want to stop overeating and really get clear on why it's important to you. So what I mean by this is really how much of an impact would it have if you stopped overeating, and how much of an impact on your life would it have. So yeah, it's just really important to understand exactly why, because oftentimes if things get tough and we kind of want to, if we feel like overeating or situations in our life kind of come up and we find ourselves overeating again, it's important to really recognize why we wanted to stop in the first place and what impact it really had on our life when we were versus when we weren't overeating. So having a really strong why can be really powerful and pushing us forward and moving us forward especially when we feel like we're slipping backwards or we're gonna slip backwards. So yeah, that's the first step to stopping the overeating. So the next step is to figure out why you're overeating. So is it because you are absolutely ravenous by the time you eat? So are you leaving too long of a gap between meals? Or is it a comfort thing? Are you overeating to kind of feel that feeling in your stomach of comfort and warmth, and that's why you're overeating? Or is it a mixture of both? So it's really important to kind of obviously understand why we're overeating in the first place, to be able to make steps forward and start working through these things. And yeah, so that is step number 2, really understanding why we're overeating and getting to the bottom of that. Step number 3 is asking ourselves if we feel worthy of stopping the overeating. So obviously, to be able to really overcome or stop overeating, we need to understand where it's coming from, but also recognize that sometimes it is a belief. So if we don't truly believe we're worthy of stopping the overeating, we're not going to put in the work and do the things we need to do to overcome it or to stop it. So this is really important to really understand if we even believe that we are worthy. So really ask yourself if you feel worthy to stop the overeating and to have a healthy relationship with food where you don't feel like you need to overeat or don't keep overeating in certain situations. So it's really important to ask yourself this, and I really encourage you to make sure you do this step, because often this is a step that is missed when we are trying to overcome and work through things, and it is really important to understand those beliefs that we are holding around ourselves and whether we believe that we are worthy or not. Because if we find ourselves not believing we are worthy, then we might temporarily be able to put in the work and do certain things, but in the long term we're not going to be fully committed or doing the things that we need to be doing to be able to stop overeating and really work through this stuff. So yeah, really that inner voice and how it is feeling about the situation is really important. And also, if we find that we don't feel worthy, it's important to ask ourselves why and to really dig into this so that we can turn this belief around and start believing that we are worthy. So the 4th step is recognizing that you are in control. So when it comes to overeating, it's easy to kind of blame or say that like it tastes good and I just couldn't stop, or a lot of I can't or I couldn't, like words like that. Really recognize that those words are not helpful, and we are in control, you are in control. So reminding yourself that at the end of the day, you do get to decide whether you do this certain thing or you do this other certain thing. So if you find yourself overeating, really ask yourself why am I overeating? And if you think it's because you're finding some sort of comfort in this food, really ask yourself, what could I be doing instead, or what should I be doing instead? And not just leave yourself to kind of keep doing it. Don't just leave things at surface level where the answers are very surface level, basically. Really ask why questions and try to really understand what's going on and why the overeating is happening, which obviously is like one of the previous steps, but it's important in those situations when you find yourself about to overeat or overeating to really question these things and not just leave it at those surface level reasons or answers, because it is almost always deeper than those first initial thoughts or responses to those questions, like why are you overeating. Oftentimes we can dig deeper than just that, and it tells us a lot more about the situation and how we can work through it. So step number 5, knowing that you are in control of your actions and your outcomes towards food, life, everything, and how you interact with everything and how that comes up in life, whether that's overeating or not overeating, and working through what's causing the overeating. So step number 5 is problem solving the things that are causing you to overeat. So if it is something like you are going too long in between meals, which is causing you to be absolutely ravenous by the time you do get to eat, then problem solving this, how could you stop this from happening? Really putting yourself in a position where it's no longer, I can't do this because of this, but it's, how can I do this to reach this goal? So even if it is something that feels at the moment like I can't do that for whatever reason, really questioning why. Like, why do I feel like I can't do that? What could I be thinking instead that would be more helpful in overcoming the overeating or stopping the overeating? So yeah, in terms of emotional eating, for example, overeating for comfort, you could be saying things like, at the moment I'm turning towards food or overeating because it brings me this comfort or this certain taste even that is enjoyable. How could I stop doing this? Like, what is there that I could be doing to really start overcoming this feeling of a need towards this food when I know there isn't? So really just putting yourself in a position of being in control of your circumstances and problem solving these different things that are coming up for you. So in terms of also to put on top of around the comfort or emotional eating, so if it is something where you are avoiding certain emotions, really asking yourself, how could I deal with this in a different way? What could I try? What could I do different? Really taking a problem solving lens towards things rather than I can't, or I won't do this, or I couldn't do this. So really just changing the mindset around these situations. So yeah, that's all for today's video. Those obviously, as you can tell, these 5 steps really are they're all important in the process of being able to stop overeating and really understanding the control you have over your circumstances and what you do, your own actions and your thoughts and your feelings. So yeah, it's really important to be able to work through these steps, and obviously they don't give you all the nitty-gritty details of exactly how to do everything, but it does still give you a really good step-by-step plan on what you should be focusing on first, second, things like that. So yeah, that's all for today's video, and I just wanted to say I also have released a course called Understand and Overcome Emotional Eating, and it kind of, some of these steps all of these steps are merged into it in a way, but it goes a lot more in depth around how to really overcome emotional eating, and obviously the understanding part, which is really important. It's important to understand what we're overcoming to be able to actually overcome it properly and to make sure we continue taking the action we need to take to overcome it. So yeah, I'm going to link the page for that below as well, and also obviously the freebie I mentioned earlier, if you want to grab that, will be linked below too. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you next week.